So it's a big circulating loop of water. And even though it's all water-based, it uses about 90% less water than a conventional farm would to grow that amount of vegetables. The water is the key thing. We're trying to be very water efficient here. And so having the system based in water but using 90% less water is really the important thing here. And it produces great vegetables because because we're not putting chemicals into the system to feed it like in a conventional hydroponics system. We're letting all the micronutrients and the different minerals go from the fish, coming from their food, flows through the water, goes through our filter, and gets absorbed by the plants. So everything is pretty much like a natural process being mimicked, but we're doing it in a very hyper-efficient way. These are the fish tanks. Each one of these is about 400 gallons, and inside, we try to keep about 100 fish. Some of them are understocked right now, but we'll get them stocked up in the spring. So what these guys do is they just live in here happy and free, and we feed them about twice a day. Some people feed them 3 times a day. We might get to that when the water warms up. They live here happy, and all they do is eat and swim around, and all their waste sort of gets circulated by this water, sort of creates a gyre, and the bottom of the fish tank is a little bit curved downward. So all the water flows out through the bottom, through these PVC pipes, and then into these metal filters right here. And so this thing is called a parabolic filter because it's shaped like a parabola. So the water flows down over this grate, and anything that's larger than 200 microns stays on the grate. Anything smaller, finer than that, flows right through and then goes into our grow bed system. So we have this big circulating system here, gravity fed, going into this filter here, flows through the filter, goes out of the grow bed. This small volume, maybe 400 gallons, goes into the grow beds, which are about maybe 3,500 gallons. So the water moves really slowly through there, and that gives the bacteria plenty of time to do its conversion from ammonia, then into nitrite, and then from nitrite to nitrate. And nitrate is the plant food that makes leafy greens grow really fast. In fact, they grow faster in our grow beds than they would grow even in the best rich organic soil that you can find. So maybe 4 weeks to maturity instead of 5. You know, that 1 week really counts though. That helps a lot. So the water comes in through this, I don't know if you can see at the bottom, the base over here, the black lines coming in. That's where the water comes in from the fish houses. Comes in these little white pipes down on the very end of the grow beds, and then slowly trickles its way through here. Let me show you what it looks like underneath. So meanwhile, we've got all these rafts floating on the water, and these guys just got planted a few days ago, so they're very small still. But their roots dangle down in the water, and they soak up all of those nutrients and all the nitrates, all the minerals that they need, and they grow really quickly. But they start their life in these little plugs. There's a tiny hole indention right there where we drop the seeds in, and within about a week or two, it depends on the temperature, these little lettuce greens will start to sprout. And once they get large enough, usually when some of the roots start sticking out of the bottom there, we can put them into the grow beds, into these little rafts that have these pre-drilled holes, fit just right. That's it. They live there for about 4 or 5 weeks, depending on the temperature again. And at this point, they've never been touched by a hand or anything. They're just as pure as can be. Then when they grow to size, like about this one, we just grab it by that little plug again, and you can just wrap up the roots or not and put it in a crate and deliver it just like that. So when it gets to the restaurant, it's still alive. When these roots go dry, it'll start to wilt a little bit, but these are wet, everything's still alive. When it gets to the restaurants, the chef can know that this is as fresh as it could possibly be. I mean, you couldn't get any fresher than that. So I call these guys trifecta because at first I experimented by putting 3 different seeds in one little plug, thinking, see what happens. And it did great. So I thought, okay, this is great. Now it's more like, probably 5 or 6 different kinds of seeds in each of these, but what it does is it gives you a variety of textures and colors and flavors even. So I've got a red leaf lettuce in here, a freckled romaine lettuce, some frisee, this is like a bitter green, and some more of this rouge du vert over here, and they all kind of come together to make a cool little bouquet looking thing. And this, again, for the restaurants, this is perfect. This is what they want. They can just clip that off and throw it on a plate, and they're pretty much ready to go. See right there, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tiny little root just starting to poke out. So when it's that size, it's ready to go in the grow bed. That little root will start seeking water more and more and more, and kind of going down, down, down. More roots will kind of come along the side along there. And that's when they're in the grow beds. So when they're sitting in the grow beds, the root systems are just getting more fan-like and trying to absorb as many of the nutrients as they can. Slowly working its way down. By the time it gets to the end, sometimes in some of the grow beds, you'll see a sort of a taper off, like in this grow bed, for instance. Down toward the end of the grow bed, some of the plants aren't as big. That means the nitrates are all being absorbed before it gets there. But that's okay. That means all the rest of the plants are happy. If you've had hydroponic tomatoes, they don't taste like tomatoes. They look like a tomato. They might look beautiful, red and shiny, but they don't really taste like much. And it's sort of similar with aquaponic or hydroponic lettuces too. It might look beautiful, but it probably won't have a whole lot of flavor that you recognize. Lettuce should taste like lettuce, right? So we sell to people who really seek that out. They want it to look perfect, or they want it to look beautiful on the plate, and they don't want pesticides on it. They don't want any of that. But they also want it to taste great, because at the end of the day, that's what you need at a great restaurant, is for it to taste great. I highly encourage everyone to try to start your own thing at some point. Even if you're not feeling entrepreneurial at this point in your life, just find something that you're good at and just take a stab. It doesn't have to be your career, but it just may be a hobby that you do or something. You know, give it a shot. Can't hurt.